Welcome back to the DOPScast. In this month's episode, we're highlighting key takeaways from the Regional Fixed Ops Performance Forum, a first-of-its-kind event hosted by our partners at UpdatePromise and co-sponsored by DealerOps. Held April 21st at the Marconi Automotive Museum in Southern California, the forum brought together dealers, OEM leaders, and industry partners for honest conversations about what's working and what's not in fixed ops today. Across the day's sessions, a common theme kept coming up: that dealers have more data and reports than ever, but decisions are still dragging and opportunities are being missed. Which numbers should you look at? What do those numbers mean? Is it good or is it bad? And what do I do about it? When you don't have clear answers to those questions, you don't act, you just keep looking at more reports. DealerOps CRO Mark Begley took the stage as a featured speaker to tackle how dealers can find clarity through simplicity by honing in on 3 KPIs that tell you everything: build flat rate hours sold, effective labor rate, and labor margin. If you control these 3 things, you control your entire shop. To dig into that idea further, we'll jump into a portion of Mark's session on stage at the Marconi. Here's Mark.
Data without context is extremely dangerous. Anybody have anything proven to them with data that was absolutely false? I see a head nod back there. Absolutely. I can prove anything. Matter of fact, 72.2% of all statistics are made up on the spot. You understand that? I'm just saying. Let's simplify this though. We are going to take the literally hundreds of KPIs that are available for the service department. Don't get me wrong, I'm not besmirching any of those numbers. They all have their own little place. What I find out, being an older guy, as I see the younger crowd coming up, and they're looking at 100 different data points, and they kind of get lost in that. And they start managing numbers instead of managing people or managing outcomes or helping the customer relationship. So as I take a look at this right here, let's boil it down to 3. Just 3. Hard to say 3, that's all. So hold that. 3. Okay, 3 simple ones, but it's 3 numbers that will give you everything that you need to know about your service department. And apologize for the parts people, not trying to leave parts out. It's just right now. Kaylee handle parts, I'm going to handle service, okay? Thank you, Kay. Took me off that book at that. So we're going to talk about the 3 that will affect everything in your service department. What are those 3? First one, everybody's going to shoot me for this one. Does it say Bill Flat Rate Hours out there already? BFRH? Yep, BFRH. I could care less how many hours you sell today. I really do. Because just like whenever someone writes you a check, how much money do you have? You have no money until you do what? Cash the check. I am talking about cashing the checks here. Because if I'm not cashing the checks, in other words, not closing ROs, that means they're on which list? Open RO list, right? Okay. So this is helping me keep my eyes on it. This is something I'm going to share with my advisors and say, okay, let's talk about how many hours per RO, how many hours you're supposed to do today. How many people will you have a goal of hours billed per day? Good for you. Thank you very much. Good for you. I know you have. No. Okay, so here's the problem. It's how do you figure out what that is? Simply. Let's just use simple math, blonde math. Apologize to any blondes, but I'm blonde as well, so I get to say it. So, simple math. Anyone running a service department? I know. How many technicians you have? Yeah, how many technicians you have? 14. All of the line techs? No new cuts. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm just saying, I would say for a line tech, count 8 hours. For a loop tech, count 4 hours. Not that they're half the people, it's just that the work they do is typically not quite as efficient as the rest of them. So we're going to take 14 times, they work 8 hours a day, I would assume. I know that's debatable, right? 6.5 hours or something like that, somewhere in there, okay? Okay, but 8 hours is when they're physically in their stall, because again, remember, we're not sending the technicians to the parts counter anymore, right? I love that. It's the way we did in my department too. So I'm going to take 8 hours times 14, that's what, 80 plus 32, so that's 112, correct? Still do math. So 112 times 20% over, so I'm going to add another 22 hours on top of that, so that's 136. How close to 136 hours per day are you coming right down? 90% there. Okay. Anybody else, if I asked you and we did the same math on your technicians, would you be able to tell me right now how many hours per day you are building in your service department? You don't have to answer that. I was just saying, think about that. If you don't know it, KPI number 1. KPI number 2, effective labor rate. So effective labor rate is actually the ratio of, okay, here's the dollars that I sold, here's the hours that I paid my technician, and the division of that, or what would that be? The product of that would be, the effective labor rate. Keep in mind, your door rate is what you want. The effective labor rate is what you actually get. Everybody understand that? And again, it's a whole different world. And I start asking people, what's affecting that effective labor rate? And I'll get something like, oh, well, people are using discounts and stuff like that. Hold on. How much does discounts affect effective labor rate? 0. Man in back rings, get the hat, cheese. Okay, so 0. We can come up with all the excuses we want about why effective labor rate is not where it's supposed to be. That is not one of them that will fly because it's not a demand equation. The next one is going to be margin. Margin is what we actually get to keep. So out of all the dollars that we sell, what are we going to keep out of it?
It was an impactful day at the Marconi Automotive Museum that was less about theory and more about how teams are actually working through complexity in fixed ops right now. So much value came from hearing how different leaders are approaching the same underlying challenge from different angles. We're grateful to our partners at UpdatePromise for hosting and to everyone who joined us and contributed to the conversations throughout the day. Grab a link to Mark's full speech in the description below. And we're not slowing down from here. Mark is headed to the AIADA board meeting in Washington, D.C., May 18th through 20th. Next, you'll find DealerOps at the Southeast Comptroller Association Conference, May 20th through 22nd in San Antonio, Texas. We'll be continuing the conversation around clarity, performance, and what it takes to run more connected operations across the board. Make sure you're following us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X for more information as both events draw near. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the DOPScast. We'll see you on the next one, and as always, drive your day with purpose.